What's going on, everyone? Welcome back into the channel. So after yesterday's Week 9 win, 20-3 against the Los Angeles Rams by the Green Bay Packers, now that it's Monday, you guys know what that means. We're going to dive down and break down the PFF grades for the Packers on both offense and defense. I do this after every week, and it's a lot more fun doing it after a Packers win. There's a lot of good grades on both offense and defense for this game. Some players that, had their best games of the season here via PFF, so let's dive into it. But before we dive into the grades, I want to quickly remind you guys you have another 9 days to enter in this signed De'Vondre Campbell framed photo here. Thank you to Pristine Auction. Pristine Auction, a great signed sports memorabilia marketplace that has tons of different Green Bay Packers items up for auction. As we see here, we have a Jaden Reed jersey. This ends in 6 hours, and it's only at $21 with no reserve. An Antonio Freeman jersey, a Super Bowl 31 stat jersey. So many cool signed Packers jerseys, helmets, football cards, and photos all on Pristine Auction. So the way you enter in this giveaway for the signed De'Vondre Campbell photo, which ends on November 15th, is head to Pristine Auction or click the link down in the description below and register on their website using my registration code BAS, B-A-S. That'll enter you in this giveaway and all future giveaways, as well as give you $10 off your first order. So definitely make sure to go check out all the cool stuff they have to offer, like everything you see behind me, all signed and authenticated on Pristine Auction. All right, so without further ado, let's dive right into these PFF grades, and today I'm gonna start on the defense because I thought the defense played phenomenal yesterday. And yes, it was against Brett Rippon, but nonetheless, it was a very impressive performance by this defense, both in the run game and in the pass game. So bringing up the grades here, we see Carrington Valentine at the top. And before looking at these grades, if you had a couple guys that you think would be at the top, one of which would probably be Carrington Valentine. I know he was for me, and he was the top graded defender for the Green Bay Packers in this game with an 84.9 grade, an 83.9 coverage grade. Also, good run defense and tackle grades, both above a 75.0, and he had 2 tackles. He only allowed 1 reception on 8 targets. We'll go into his reception on targets allowed against certain receivers after we go over all the defensive grades. So definitely stay tuned for that because he had an excellent day in coverage as well. Next, we see Colby Wooden. He only had 15 snaps, but had an excellent game, 82.2 with 1 pressure, 1 tackle. The young defensive lineman in this game really stepped up. Isaiah McDuffie, another player that stepped up, and he has been doing this in the absence of whatever linebacker can't play. So Quay Walker was out of this game. He injured his groin in practice and was out of this game, and Isaiah McDuffie stepped up to the plate in his absence. He also stepped up when De'Vondre Campbell was gone, and we see Isaiah McDuffie had 54 total snaps, a 77.8 grade. De'Vondre Campbell also played really well. He's been great since coming back from his ankle injury. He has a 76.1. Jair Alexander has his best graded game on the season. Both these cornerbacks played excellent yesterday, and yes, again, it is against Brent Rippon, but they really did lock up these wide receivers in Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, which in that alone is very impressive. He had a 75.2 here. Keyshawn Nixon also had a high grade here, a 70.5. Preston Smith, a 69.0, including a 86.3 coverage grade. There's our cornerback number 1, Preston Smith there. Lucas Van Ness, a 68.8. He's been really good as of late. Lucas Van Ness had 2 total pressures and 2 tackles, so nice game for Lucas Van Ness. Eric Wilson had 4 snaps. John Owens, we obviously saw he got that sack, that fumble sack, so he also had a good game here, a 65.6, including a 79.7 pass rush grade, of course, because of that pressure and sack, as we see here, that resulted in a fumble. Below him, we see Anthony Johnson Jr. Interestingly enough, they have him listed as a slot cornerback, but he played safety for the Green Bay Packers, but they were moving him around a lot. Would have expected a little bit of a higher grade here. I really liked what I saw from him, a 64.5 overall grade here, and it's likely a lot lower because of his tackle grade, a 27.2 because he missed a tackle and only had 1 tackle. So when you miss a tackle and you only have, say, 1 tackle, your tackle grade is going to be really low on PFF, so that probably lowered his overall grade a decent bit there, and his run defense also as well, a 41.5. But overall, I was very impressed with Anthony Johnson Jr., and I want to see more of him going into the future. Rashawn Gary, low grade for him, a 61.6, likely because the offside penalty had, and I believe he had a face mask penalty, so that likely will lower his grade a lot there, because he still had 5 pressures, 2 hits, 3 hurries, a tackle, and no miss. So overall, I liked what I saw from Rashawn Gary. He also saw 36 total snaps. So Preston Smith saw 38 snaps. He saw 36. So not really far off from the starting normal average for edge players at this point. Rashawn Gary's pretty much at 100% or very, very close to it. Ennis Gaines saw 1 snap there. Kenny Clark, a 60.2, only 15 snaps before he went out with his, I believe, shoulder injury. Should get an update on him in the next coming days. Don Levitt saw 2 snaps. TJ Slayton, 36 snaps, a 56.3. I thought he played better than that. I feel like he was moving around the field really, really well. I've loved TJ Slayton so far this year. I think this guy's definitely stepped up, and he's one of the better defensive linemen that we have right now. Carl Brooks, a 55.3. I also really liked what I saw from Carl Brooks. You guys know how high I am on him. I definitely have a Carl Brooks bias, that's for sure. He had 2 total pressures, 2 hurries, 2 bat downs. I feel like we called his name a lot yesterday, but they still gave him a 55.3. JJ Igbare, a 49.7. He did have 1 really nice tackle for loss, but it looks like still a low grade here. He had a missed tackle. Devontae Wyatt was the lowest graded Packer on defense in this game with a 40.9. Devontae Wyatt's been really, really good this season. Just seems like this is a down game for him, but it's fine because the Rams still weren't able to run at all. So now, of course, we got to look at the coverage matchups. So we see Jair Alexander. It was a good game for him, but he still did allow 6 receptions on 10 targets for 64 yards. He allowed that 1 reception to Cooper Kupp for 34 yards. I don't know if I necessarily put that on him. I think the Packers were in cover 3, and yes, he should have kind of matched Cooper Kupp running that post a little bit more, considering there's no one else in his zone, but he should have also had safety help over the top. It was just a nice ran route and a nice thrown ball right in between the safety and the cornerback in the coverage that they were running. So yeah, it probably got attributed to him as it did here on PFF, but it's not all on him for that one in my opinion, but he definitely could have played it a lot better. Austin Trammell, he allowed a catch for 6 yards. Puka Nacua, he allowed 2 for 14. Darrell Henderson, he allowed 1 for 8. And Tutu Atwell, 1 for 2 yards. Then we see Carrington Valentine, who against Cooper Kupp allowed 1 reception for 14 yards. Against Puka Nacua, he allowed 0 receptions on 4 targets. And then Tutu Atwell, 0 receptions on 2 targets. So Carrington Valentine, man, targeted 8 times, only allowed 1 reception for 14 yards. He had an awesome day yesterday, and I hope this kind of boosts his confidence going forward, because it seemed like he kind of lost some of that during this season, where he had it in the preseason, came in during the season multiple times and wasn't really playing too hot, and it seemed like that completely flipped in this game. His confidence was back, his swagger was back. He was playing with a great mentality, and that whole defense was. So really nice to see Carrington Valentine step up to the plate now that Rasul Douglas is gone. Nixon allowed 3 catches on 3 targets for 24 yards. Campbell allowed 1 reception on 2 targets for 8, and John Owens also allowed a reception here for 5. Now moving over to the offensive side of the ball, and outside of Emmanuel Wilson, who only had 8 total snaps and a 91.0 grade due to that 1 long run he had, Jordan Love was the highest graded Packer on offense, and his highest graded game, I think, of his career, definitely of the season. Yeah, as we see here, his highest graded game of the season, an 83.2. And I feel like this game did reflect that. He was efficient. He had his best completion percentage on the year. He didn't turn over the ball. He had a good quarterback rating, and he was even more efficient in the second half and made the throws that needed to be made. And, there still was a couple drops by wide receivers. And I thought Jordan Love had a really good game yesterday. And building onto this, hopefully he can continue that next week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rasheed Walker at left tackle played a decent bit because Josh Nijman again got hurt, but he played well. 37 snaps, had a 76.9, so nice to see him bounce back. Tay Wicks, even though he had a fumble and turned over the ball, he still is the 4th highest graded player, or 3rd highest graded player if you don't really count Emmanuel Wilson, with a 74.9. He continues to get more snaps. Here's 23 snaps in this game, and this dude just keeps getting open, and the Packers will continue to keep giving him more snaps because he continues to get open, and he run blocks really well. As we see here, an 81.0 run block. Josh Nijman, 35 snaps, so 2 less snaps than Rasheed Walker, but he also played really well, 74.5. A.J. Dillon with a good grade, 71.5. Romeo Doubs played well, 69.9. Elton Jenkins at 69.0. Luke Musgrave at 68.3. Finally started to see a little bit of the Luke Musgrave we wanted, or the Packers using him the way we wanted. We saw that deep crosser route over to the left corner where Jordan Love fit it right over top the linebacker, and most linebackers aren't going to be running with Musgrave, or aren't going to be able to, especially Troy Reeder, who was tasked with that at that point. And then also that awesome play design, the fake swing pass to the left, the fake screen to the right, block and release Luke Musgrave up the middle for a touchdown, got his first touchdown of the year. So really love to see that by the Packers with Luke Musgrave. Zach Thomas, 68.3. Sean Ryan, 66.4. Man, this guy came in, played 15 snaps for Jon Runyan, and I thought he looked really, really good. And I'm kind of sitting here scratching my head wondering, why hasn't this guy been playing? Because there's multiple times, it was on the Aaron Jones touchdown run drive, that he made excellent blocks in the run game. And I think one of them, he actually made an excellent block on Aaron Donald, which is very, very impressive. And it kind of seems like he's that mauler type of guard that the Packers have been missing in the run game. So at this point, I think they should put Sean Rhyan in there, whether that's putting him in at right guard again and just swapping him out for Jon Runyan or moving other guys around. I think Sean Rhyan deserves a chance to play, especially after seeing those 15 snaps yesterday. Tucker Kraft, a 64.3, Josh Myers, a 64.1, DeGuara, a 63.7, Watson, a 62.7, Ben Sims, a 60.8, Jaden Reed here, a 59.7. Aaron Jones, a pretty low overall grade, because I'm assuming because of the fumble, a 55.2. Jon Runyan, one of the lowest graded players, definitely the lowest graded starter on this team yesterday, and this kind of just furthermore shows why I think Sean Rhyan should be playing, because this isn't the first time this happened to Jon Runyan. Here's a 42.3 grade, and usually he's good in the pass blocking game, and yesterday he had a 29.9 pass blocking, and he's actually better in the run blocking game, which also was a poor grade at 59.3. So at this point, honestly, I want to see Sean Rhyan, and yesterday just kind of solidifies that even more. And then we see Malik Heath, who was activated over Samori Toure, was the lowest graded Packer. He had that one pretty bad drop across the middle. Ball hit him a little low, but right in the hands. He had a 32.0. Then to quickly finish things up, going over the pressures allowed by the offensive line. If we sort it by pressures here, Jon Runyan at the top. He had 2 penalties, were the 2 offsides, which I'm not going to entirely put on him. The Eagles have been doing the same thing, where their guards are lined up in the same exact spot, and the refs haven't called it. They just happen to call it against Jon Runyan. So the penalties I'm not really putting on him, but he also allowed 2 pressures and a sack there, and that's why he's at the top here in terms of pressures and sacks allowed. Josh Myers also allowed 2 pressures and a sack. These two just kind of have been, the problem in the interior of this offensive line for sure. Rasheed Walker allowed 1 pressure and 1 hit. Elton Jenkins, same thing, 1 pressure and 1 hit. And Zach Tom also allowed a pressure. So overall, the Packers, I thought, blocked really well in both the pass game and the run game. I feel like a couple of those sacks allowed, I think, were on Jordan Love holding the ball too long. So overall, was impressed with the offensive line, and I think they could still make some different switches. I really liked when Josh Nijman was out there, although Rasheed Walker did have a good game. I really liked when Josh Nijman was out there, and I really liked when Sean Rhyan was out there. So that does it for all the PFF grades, Week 9, Packers versus Rams. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Remember, PFF isn't the end-all, be-all. It's just extra context to look into these games after you've watched them yourself. But that about does it for this one. I appreciate you guys watching. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like below. This so I know to keep making these episodes. And of course, I'll be back to make another PFF episode next week after that Steelers game. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.